The two were in a stalemate for a moment, and Lan Wangji shook his head slowly and said, "Practice too frequently, which damages your body. Let's rest for a few days." Wei Wuxian felt strange deeply. "Lan Zhan, do you have misunderstanding for me? Are you looking down on me too much?" "I'm not looking down on you." Lan Wangji looked at him and said seriously, "The accident has happened. Why should we be so careless?" "What are you talking about?" "Ah, isn't everything fine now?" Wei Wuxian frowned and took a step back. "Lan Zhan, didn't you also hope that I would recover the memory quickly? You were working so hard before." His words stopped suddenly. Lan Wangji was indeed very anxious and worked hard day and night to check all kinds of information for him. But since he came back from night hunting that time, he had returned all those books and never borrowed again. Although he had no complaints about accompanying him to practice, Lan Wangji never urged him. No, not only did he not urge him, he clearly used different methods to prevent him from practicing from time to time. Wei Wuxian always thought it was because Lan Wangji cared too much about his body, but only then did he realize another possibility suddenly. He swallowed saliva and asked Lan Wangji, "Lan Zhan, don't you want me to recover my memory?" Lan Wangji still stared at him, but his sharp eyesight became calmer gradually, as if the turbulent waves had retreated silently to the bottom of the water before they had time to form. He didn't answer Wei Wuxian's question, but threw the question back to him, saying, "What about you? Do you want to?" "I," Wei Wuxian said without hesitation, "anyone who has lost his memory wants to recover it, right?" Of course I want to." "All right." He pushed open the door of the silence room, raised a hand to Wei Wuxian and said, "Come on." Wei Wuxian had not yet recovered from this series of events and asked subconsciously, "What are we going for?" Lan Wangji said in a natural tone, "Practicing." Lan Wangji pulled Wei Wuxian into the inner room, lit the lamps and laid out the futons. All preparations were done smoothly, without any resistance, as if the person who almost had an argument with Wei Wuxian outside the door just now had nothing to do with him, while Wei Wuxian was much less calm. He looked at Lan Wangji suspiciously from beginning to end. He sat down and didn't move until Lan Wangji reminded him, "Give me your hand." He made a sound of, "Oh," and passed his hand to the other person's hand. They closed their eyes in unison and concentrated their energy. Two different spiritual energy surged out from their dantians and then merged into one within Wei Wuxian's body. While Wei Wuxian was practicing, he couldn't help but be distracted and thought wildly in his mind, what reason did Lan Zhan have for not wanting me to recover my memory? No matter what, recovery was better, right? He could already recall some things, mostly the scene that he was so sticky and clinging to Lan Wangji, which made him want to hit himself. If he was so well-behaved and obedient before, why would Lan Zhan feel it difficult to let go of the wild and unruly person he was now? Wei Wuxian recalled it carefully, and it seemed that Lan Wangji's change in attitude began after he learned the truth about his senior sister's death. Wei Wuxian closed his eyes, frowning more and more, thinking, could Lan Zhan be worried that I couldn't accept those bad things in the past, right? Did I look that fragile? Thinking of his gaffe that night, Wei Wuxian was speechless for a while and felt that this reason was quite possible suddenly. But when he thought more seriously, it didn't make sense. That night, he already knew the truth about his senior sister and his break with Jiang Cheng. He also knew his final death. He indeed knew all of this. He had died once. Was there anything more difficult to accept than death? Wei Wuxian was really puzzled. The more he thought about it, the less he figured it out. When his mind was disordered, the operation of his spiritual energy was affected inevitably. The most taboo thing in practicing was being restless. The first time he made the mistake, Lan Wangji stopped in time. Before leaving, he helped him calm down a few chaotic spiritual currents, by the way. He raised his head and looked at Wei Wuxian, whose breathing was a little erratic. Wei Wuxian took a few deep breaths and said to Lan Wangji apologetically, I'm a little tired. How about end now for today? Lan Wangji did not ask any more questions as usual and just said, all right. Both of them were speechless. After a moment of silence, Lan Wangji got up and went to read a book next to the table. Wei Wuxian sat alone in a daze for a while, then finally took out his chenking and turned it around in his hand. Whenever he was anxious and impatient, he would turn the flute. He turned Chengqing faster and faster. The long, bright red tassels flew among his fingers, and the flute almost flew out of his hands several times. Wei Wuxian thought of playing the flute to calm down. For a moment, he forgot that Lan Wangji was in the room. He put Chengqing to his lips and played a few tunes casually. After a while, there was a rustling sound outside the door suddenly. Lan Wangji heard it obviously too, and seemed to be ready to get up and take a look. Wei Wuxian was closer to the door and waved his hand to signal Lan Wangji that he himself went to check. He went over to open the door and saw that there was no one outside. Just as he was wondering, he heard the movement coming from underneath. Lowering his head again, he saw that the visitors were none other than the bone rabbits he had summoned before. He had dispersed them before he came back clearly. At this time, they must have been attracted by his restless flute sound. They were piled up next to the door, within their faces made of bones raised high, as if they were waiting for the order of their master. Yiling Patriarch was now staring at a bunch of vicious corpses of rabbits, really dumbfounded. Seeing that he had been standing by the door without moving for a long time, Lan Wangji stood up and said, "What's wrong?" Wei Wuxian was startled and turned around. It's nothing. Lan Wangji put down his book and walked over. Wei Wuxian felt that Lan Wangji hated these things subconsciously, so he hurriedly opened his arms to block Lan Wangji's way. As a result, Lan Wangji was indeed stopped by him, but a rabbit ran in beside his feet. Wei Wuxian became anxious suddenly and scolded the beast, "Go away! Get out of the way!" Ordinary corpses would be afraid of him, let alone a little rabbit. When he scolded the rabbit, it immediately trembled with fear, and the bones seemed to fall apart. It ran back out of the door dejectedly. Wei Wuxian ignored the rabbits and studied Lan Wangji's expression carefully. He whispered, Lan Zhan, I am wrong." Lan Wangji shook his head and said, "It doesn't matter." Wei Wuxian swore, "I will drive them all away right away. I will never let your uncle see them." After saying that, he clapped his hands and gave the order. At this time, he suddenly noticed that Lan Wangji's eyesight fell on his flute, as if showing a hint. Wei Wuxian got an idea. Did Lan Zhan want to hear me play the flute? So, instead of clapping his hands twice, Wei Wuxian spent a lot of time playing a complete melody. He didn't know what the melody was, but he only knew that the melody was gentle and quiet. Lan Wangji didn't interrupt him, so he kept playing. In any case, those rabbits were all sent away by him. After finishing the song, Wei Wuxian clapped his hands and said, Okay. He was thinking about saying a few nice words to coax Lan Wangji, but when he turned around, he saw that Lan Wangji was still staring at him intently. His eyesight was even more serious than before. Wei Wuxian closed the door, took 2 steps towards him, raised his hand and waved it in front of him, saying teasingly, "Am I so good-looking?" Lan Wangji took back the eyesight slowly. Wei Wuxian turned the flute in his hand and sighed as if talking to himself. People really can change. Lan Zhan, you used to hate this kind of thing so much. As soon as I played the flute, you seemed to want to fight with me. Lan Wangji said in a calm voice. Really? To be honest, Wei Wuxian really didn't want to see Lan Wangji like this, as if Lan Wangji had hidden all his emotions so that he couldn't guess them despite all his efforts. It was like this before, and it was like this now. It made him anxious for no reason.